Everyone is watching CPI, ETF flows, and whatever Powell mumbled last. Meanwhile, the real signals just printed. VIX 9 day, VIX 3 month flipped, and the EMB kissed its macro trend line. So, what's the meaning of this? The panic is over, the risk is loading, but yeah, keep waiting for those green candle confirmations and let us show you what actually matters. So, Oz, we've been tracking the VIX 9 day, VIX 3 month flip. I know what you're saying, but for those who are watching and who missed it, what does the VIX ratio shift really tell us about where risk assets, especially Bitcoin, are heading next?
Yeah, hi Doc. So this is a chart, and what I want to do is go through a few charts quickly today. Not all of them, but just a few, and we look at one of the main ones, which I like to see is the VIX 9 day over the 3 month. And what this shows is the short term panic related to the long term panic. And if you want to actually go into it more detail. I did a thread on it today, so you can read that and go through the other types of VIX and what it all means. But going into the chart right now, we've only had these signals uh, three times in the last 15 years. And it's not a signal that's to be taken lightly. And it's when I've heard a lot of people say, oh, the VIX is just volatility, it's not panic. To be honest, when the VIX goes this high, people are panicking, people are hedging in the background, and that's what takes it so high. And it's a very good macro indicator in terms of where we're going. And once fear is this high, we've had it a few times back in 2015 when there was a deflation scare, back in the COVID time, when we all know what happened then. And again, this cycle, and normally you get it in for Bitcoin anyway, you get it once a cycle. And that normally shows the bottom of the, especially of the altcoin market, because this is when things start to unwind. So what we have is, the three signals. So back in 2015, it was around 1.66. COVID was a big one, almost 1.8, and even this one was at 1.56. Now, what's the difference between the COVID signal, which was here at Bitcoin at 5,000, and Bitcoin at 75,000 now? When we were in COVID, things actually broke down. The economy came to a standstill. You know, the Fed had to cut numerous times. Quantitative easing and all that sort of stuff just made it, spike up. What for me this time is, even more bullish is nothing is broken. So it's just fear because of the tariffs. Obviously, everybody's scared of the tariffs and all that noise that's coming out from Trump and that sort of stuff. But for me, that does not matter whatsoever. The What matters is that, and once we go into the next chart, I'll show you why. And the fear has spiked up to 1.56. That's heavy fear without anything breaking. Now this will unwind. Now if we go back to 2015 and we see what happened when Bitcoin was at $230 and went to around 20k, right? That took approximately, on a weekly chart, 862 days on a weekly chart. So it took 123 bars over, that was quite a long period of time. When we go back to COVID, we had Bitcoin crash to around 5,000, went to around 60, let's just call it. And again, that was a bit shorter. It took 622 days, 89 bars. Now, personally, I don't think we have that long left in the cycle. So what I'm actually, imagining that's going to happen is something very, very volatile, because this fear does have to unwind now, just like it did back, in 2020, just like it did in 2015. We might get some, up and down movements as I read the thread, and it'll make it a bit more clearer. But it's not going to go down in one day. It's not going to go down. People see red candles and think, "Oh, what's happening?" But right now, positioning is just changing, and before this actually does really unwind, and gamma flips purple. And for that reference, there's another. I know that I made a lot of threads recently, so to keep up, you need to read them and understand what they mean, because gamma is orange at the moment. So things are they're trying to. You can say the volume traders are trying to control price, buy dips and sell rips until it gets to a point where it's no longer containable. Everybody is either panicking on the wrong side of the market, and then it flips purple, and then you start getting vertical repricing. So right now, at the moment, when you do see candles, like the SPX is down 1% today. This is all noise before the actual, in my opinion, the actual big uh, blow off takes place. So we're at 75,000. You can see the last two examples. The VIX is very powerful in terms of volatility, and once there is a lot of fear in the market, but nothing's breaking, you have to really think to yourself, was that fear just overblown? Was all this fear that happened last week when, people were calling for a 2008 style recession, a crash? People were calling for Bitcoin to 50,000. I was seeing tweets of Bitcoin to 50. I even saw some tweets of Bitcoin to 20 to or 30,000. The SPX to, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000. There was so much fear going on, but without the 2008 or COVID style break, in those recessions, things broke down, and things may break down in the future, but at the moment, nothing in terms of the stress signals have flashed. So for me, watch volatility, watch this unwind. It's not about getting the exact bottom. People are so concerned about getting the exact bottom. You know, uh, think about it. At COVID, this was 5,000. I don't know what the exact low was. Maybe it was 4,000 or 4,800. But once whether you bought it at five, six, seven, Bitcoin or even altcoins for that matter, right? Altcoins, you took it all the way to 50 or 60,000 when the VIX was back at, the ratio was back at 0. 0.5, 0.6, and you can see that, it doesn't really matter about getting the exact bottom. You have to position yourself. And this is what my threads keep saying, make sure your positioning is right, because this will unwind. Whether you believe it or not, this will unwind. The third signal in what you could say 10, 15 years is not gonna just be a false signal again. And this is just one of the charts I wanted to show you today.
Now, by the way, if you're into real time Bitcoin, crypto, altcoin, technical analysis, and macro insights that actually matter and move the markets, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Viewers, smash that like button and keep the bell notification on so you don't miss out on any of the new videos. And while you're here, what Oz was referring to, go check out the new macro heat section based on Oz's threads, but a bit more detail. It's live and it's updated weekly, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and it's completely free. All you need to do is go to the marketsunplug.com, sign up as a free member, and get access to all of the real macro content that most people are missing or a bit confused about. Now, Oz, looking at the EMB, sorry, emerging market credit, that's just kissed the long-term trend line that we've marked out for months. So, what's the real read here regarding the EMB starting uh, coiling like that, and how do you see where we're feeding into Bitcoin with this broader risk flows?
Yeah, so the EMB, right? Before we go into it, the EMB, it's the iShares for JP Morgan, emerging markets, right? And this is a very important, in my opinion, important market. It shows global risk appetite, the liquidity pressure, the USD liquidity pressure, a foreign capital flow into the emerging markets economies, and basically just confidence of credit markets outside the G7 circus, I would say. So what this is showing me, and it's very very and this is when last week I was looking at this. I was looking at a lot of the credit markets, and especially the JP Morgan one, and I was thinking to myself, everybody's panicking, 2008 style credit crisis, credit crunch, and all that sort of stuff. But have they even looked at charts? Have they even looked at if anything's broken in terms of credit, HYG, HYG, LQT, EMB? And EMBs are normally one of the first to go, emerging markets. And for me, it hit that trend line and it's bounced off. If we broke the trend line and start going down, yeah, then we'd be in trouble, and we probably would get another 20, 30, 40% crash, just like 2008, dot-com bubble, and so forth. But nothing happened there. Nothing happened there, and these do normally foretell. Look at 2021. This is 2021, right? uh, this is COVID 2021. You do a trend line, you break the trend line back in October, it gives you an early signal that you know what, a bear market or a significant crash is coming. And Bitcoin from 70,000 went down to approximately where it was 15,000, and that gives you early warning signal here. But what I'm seeing right now, if you look at the market, there's no signal to say that this market is breaking down. The emerging markets breaking down. So you know take a look at this chart. We've bounced again, and for me this is going in with the volatility index. This is actually real macro. This is not your shitcoin in the back of your pocket or in the back of your wallet. This is actually the macro economy. So I know crypto people, I'm a crypto person myself. You love to think you live inside a bubble for crypto, but look at the macro picture. Look at what actually matters. Look at what's controlling the global economy. It's not it's not your Dogecoin or your other coin. It's actually what's actually flowing. So look at the flow. Like I always say in my threads, look at the flow. Look where things are going, and you'll see that credit at the moment is fine. Yeah, we did come back down to the trend line. If you look right back here, we came in October just before the pump, and this was in October just before the FTX crash. The stock market actually bottomed in October, and then we had the FTX crash, and then we went up. So I'm actually from here I'm thinking we will make our way up, like I showed you in the VIX index. It's not going to be a straight line. Eventually will become vertical repricing, but at the moment, after we just had a crash last week, not a crash, but let's say a 15-20% move down in the stock market, and Bitcoin went down to about 75,000. So we're going to get that balance going again, and it's going to I think it's going to be a wild time in the next few months.
Now, before we start discussing copper, because I know Oz has been producing lots of content writing on gold, silver, and copper. Now, if you want more on Bitcoin on chain analysis in real time, we've also added the new section on fresh Bitcoin on chain analysis. All the heavy indicators condensed, made simple, giving daily insights and analysis on the Bitcoin on chain metrics. And it's totally free. Again, all you need to do is just sign up, no catch, and it's just real solid alpha. Now, Oz, I know this one might fly under the radar, but what's copper saying in terms of the macro charts?
Yeah, I can't give too much weight for exactly with the copper because I did do a members only article on it. But what I would say with copper, right, is this is your real Bitcoin dominance chart. I'll keep it like that, right? This is your altcoin chart. This is actually, I know Bitcoin dominance. Everybody's going on about it. People are going on about, altcoins. If you know how to work copper, this is your real macro signal. And copper growing, this is back last week, right? Copper's not collapsing. Copper is real world growth, not fake altcoin growth. you know, what I mean. So it's actually real world growth. And if copper is growing, which I think it's basically at such a critical time, right? You will see altcoins fly. People might, have a bit doubts, bit skeptical. All I can say is I will release that article maybe in a few months' time, but the article is here, uh, right here. I wrote this, a few days ago. Why copper gold ratio just flipped the macro switch for Bitcoin. All I will say, and I think it's helping so many out there. You don't want to read the article, or obviously it's a members article, but all I will say is that we are at a critical time for copper, and this could be life changing in my opinion. So just keep an eye on copper, and that will give you the heads up for growth.
Viewers, thanks a lot for joining us in this video. If you made it this far and you're still chasing candles instead of watching credit, volatility, and commodities and looking at the overall structure of macroeconomics in line with what's happening with Bitcoin and the altcoin market as well, you're probably just investing and trading in noise and not structure. We're giving you insights that are all rounded, not just moon boy talk. So do please like this video, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. Go check out the marketsunplug.com, check out our Twitter channels and our socials as well, and we'll see you guys in the next one.